Hello, friend. So glad you're here tonight. Get comfortable, pull the covers up, and let the day loosen its grip. There's nowhere else you need to be. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe and tap the like button on tonight's video. Both are free, they take 2 seconds, and they help this channel more than you'd think. And you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. Tonight is a slow drift through the real story of Cold War, one true thing at a time. There is nothing to do here and nothing to remember. Each one will pass like a slow cloud, some familiar, some quietly surprising, all of them real. If you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, that is exactly how this is meant to work. Settle in, let your breathing slow down, and we will begin. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it. It should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. The Cold War lasted from 1947 to 1991, a span of 44 years. This period began when the United States and the Soviet Union found themselves on opposing sides after World War II. The end came with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, marking a significant shift in global politics. Throughout these decades, tensions ebbed and flowed, often manifesting in proxy wars and arms races. Leaders on both sides maintained a delicate balance, aiming to avoid direct conflict. The end of this era was not marked by a single event, but rather a gradual decline. Historians trace the origins of this date back to agreements and treaties signed during this time period. The Cold War was a time of constant vigilance, with both superpowers keeping watch over each other's actions and intentions. This state of alertness was maintained through advanced surveillance technologies and intelligence gathering. The knowledge gained from these methods allowed leaders to understand the opposing side's strategies and adapt their own responses accordingly. This period was characterized by a state of heightened awareness, where both nations were constantly preparing for potential threats. Each action or decision made by one side was scrutinized by the other, leading to a cycle of suspicion and mistrust. The continuous monitoring allowed leaders to anticipate moves and counteract accordingly, maintaining a precarious stability. This era witnessed the development of sophisticated tools that enabled surveillance and data collection, shaping the strategies employed in this silent conflict. The constant scrutiny between nations fostered an atmosphere where every action could be interpreted as a potential threat, leading to careful deliberations and strategic adjustments. Both sides employed intricate methods to gather information, utilizing satellites and undercover agents to stay informed. This delicate balance required meticulous analysis of the collected data, with experts interpreting patterns and trends to predict future moves. Over time, this continuous observation and interpretation became a vital component of each nation's defense strategy. The primary rivals during the Cold War were the United States and the Soviet Union. This global standoff brought together countries under threat from the Soviet Union into a defensive alliance known as NATO. The initial members of NATO included nations feeling the looming shadow of the Soviet bloc. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union formed its own military alliance, called the Warsaw Pact, to strengthen bonds with its satellite states. May 1955 marked the establishment of this pact, solidifying the divided loyalties that shaped the Cold War landscape. The formation of these two alliances created a balance of power that maintained peace, albeit tense. Nations joined these pacts to ensure their security and maintain regional stability. The existence of both NATO and the Warsaw Pact highlighted the deep-rooted ideological divisions of the era. The Cold War's geopolitical landscape was thus defined by a delicate equilibrium of mutual deterrence. Throughout this period, nations sought to protect themselves from perceived threats by aligning with one of these two power blocs. This system of alliances provided a framework for international relations, guiding diplomatic efforts and military strategies. Over time, the presence of these competing coalitions came to be accepted as a fundamental aspect of global politics. The lessons learned from this era have shaped contemporary approaches to collective security. This system of alliances encouraged nations to cooperate strategically, even as they competed ideologically. It demonstrated that global peace could be maintained through balance and deterrence, rather than conquest or submission. Over decades, it became clear that the presence of these opposing coalitions was not a transient phase, but a durable reality shaping world affairs. This understanding has guided policymakers in navigating complex geopolitical landscapes ever since. The Cold War began after World War II when the Iron Curtain extended into Eastern Europe, marking a division of the continent that lasted for decades. This metaphorical boundary, coined by Winston Churchill, symbolized the stark ideological differences between East and West. The end of World War II left Europe in ruins, with the Soviet Union dominating the Eastern Bloc and the United States leading the Western Bloc. The Iron Curtain was not a physical barrier, but a figurative one, created by political policies and military tensions that isolated Eastern Europe from the rest of the world. This division was evident through the stark contrast in daily life on either side of the curtain, differences in architecture, economic systems, and social norms. The Iron Curtain became a tangible reality for many who attempted to cross it, facing strict controls and severe consequences. It served as a constant reminder of the Cold War's tense atmosphere, where every action carried significant weight in maintaining this delicate balance. The division was perpetuated by differing political ideologies that shaped daily life and social structures. It was maintained through propaganda, surveillance, and strict border controls. The stark contrasts were evident in the architecture, with towering monuments to communism in the east and modernist buildings in the west. This separation was reinforced by censorship and limited travel, creating distinct cultures on either side. The Iron Curtain's psychological impact was profound, instilling fear and mistrust among those living under its influence. This metaphorical divide was upheld through rigorous checks at border crossings, ensuring that only approved individuals could pass. The invisible boundary extended beyond physical borders, permeating everyday interactions and communication channels. Over time, it became clear that the curtain's effects were enduring, with lasting implications for future generations. McCarthyism is a term associated with the Cold War home front, referencing Senator Joseph McCarthy's actions during this period. It was a time of heightened suspicion and fear, where people were accused of being communist sympathizers without substantial evidence. This era saw public hearings and trials, aimed at rooting out perceived threats to national security. The term McCarthyism became widely used as more individuals came forward with stories of persecution. The actions of Senator Joseph McCarthy during this time have left a lasting mark on American history, highlighting the potential consequences of unchecked power and fear-mongering. This period saw a widespread distrust that permeated society, affecting both public and private lives. Many families were torn apart, as neighbours reported on one another out of fear or suspicion. The actions during this time have been studied extensively in academic circles, providing insight into the dynamics of power and fear. The fear spread like a virus, infecting communities and institutions alike. Whispers and accusations became weapons, wielded with little regard for truth or consequences. In this climate of paranoia, the line between fact and fiction blurred, leaving lives in tatters. History has shown us that such periods of distrust can have long-lasting effects on a society's psyche, echoing through generations. The fear created deep divisions among people who once trusted each other. Neighbours became enemies, and families were fractured by distrust. The atmosphere was one of constant vigilance, as everyone watched their words and actions closely. This era left a legacy of secrecy and caution in its wake. The threat of nuclear war loomed throughout the 1950s and into the late 1980s during the Cold War. This persistent danger cast a long shadow over everyday life, from the bustling streets of cities to the quiet corners of homes. The constant hum of tension could be felt in the murmurs of neighbours and the distant drone of aircraft overhead. It was a time when the world seemed smaller, as if every point on the globe was connected by an invisible web of fear. The cold reality of this threat was reinforced by the presence of air raid sirens and the occasional glimpse of military convoys rumbling down the road. The silence between these moments was filled with the weight of what might be, the sense of time hanging suspended in anticipation. This era left its mark on buildings, where underground bunkers and fallout shelters were carved into foundations, and on mines, where the spectre of sudden destruction lingered as a constant companion. Grey skies often echoed with the distant rumble of jets, a constant reminder of the unseen enemy above. Neighbourhoods bore the scars of drills, with chalk marks on doors and windows indicating the best places to take cover. The quiet chatter at dinner tables sometimes turned to whispered debates about the latest news from across the world. Every knock at the door brought a fleeting moment of uncertainty, as if the outside world had suddenly reached out to disrupt the calm inside. The silence was punctuated by the soft rustle of newspapers, as families huddled together to decipher news headlines that hinted at distant conflicts. A quiet hum emanated from radios tucked away in corners, their dials tuned to static-filled frequencies, ready for emergency broadcasts. The steady ticking of clocks echoed through empty hallways, each second a subtle reminder of the world outside, unseen but ever present. The Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, or SALT, were held during détente with the aim of limiting nuclear weapons. These talks took place in a time of cautious peace, where leaders sought to control the spread of such powerful arms. The discussions unfolded over many months, with each side presenting their proposals across large wooden tables. Negotiators pored over documents, their eyes scanning lines of text under the harsh glare of overhead lights. Each sentence was scrutinized, every clause debated. In quiet rooms filled with the hum of air conditioners, words carried weight like the metal of a bomb's shell. The world outside these talks remained unaware of the intricate details being hashed out. Instead, they relied on the reports that trickled down from those closed doors, each word carefully chosen to convey the gravity of the negotiations. The negotiators' expressions remained impassive, giving nothing away. The documents before them were marked with pencil annotations, each change a silent negotiation in itself. The air of the room grew thick with tension, as if mirroring the heavy atmosphere outside. Every pause between words was pregnant with possibility, every silence a tactic. Their hands rarely reached for a glass of water, lest it break the spell of concentration. The room's walls seemed to close in slightly with each passing hour, intensifying the focus. Occasionally, a page would be turned, its rustle echoing like a whisper in the stillness. A glance at a watch was a rare and fleeting movement, acknowledging the relentless march of time. Technological competitions like the space race were part of the Cold War. On October 4, 1957, a new chapter began when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, marking the start of the space race in earnest. The tension between superpowers fueled this competition, driving them to innovate and discover at unprecedented speeds. Both nations vied for supremacy, pushing the boundaries of science and technology. Each launch became a symbol of national pride and technological might. In this race, distances seemed shorter as satellites orbited Earth with increasing frequency. The Cold War's influence on space exploration was undeniable, transforming scientific discoveries into political statements. As satellites multiplied, they became everyday tools for navigation and communication, connecting far-flung places like never before. The relentless pursuit of space technology spurred advancements in rocketry and materials science. Each achievement carried political weight, reflecting the strengths and aspirations of its originator nation. The rivalry also fostered international cooperation, with scientists exchanging data and collaborating on joint projects. The space race accelerated technological advancements, with each side striving to outdo the other. This intense rivalry compelled nations to invest heavily in research and development. The outcomes of these efforts shaped our understanding of the universe and space travel. By sharing findings, scientists from different countries could build upon one another's work. This competition sparked a global interest in astronomy, inspiring many to pursue careers in science and technology. Satellites provided valuable data for research, enabling scientists to study Earth's climate and atmosphere more effectively. The race also led to the development of reusable rockets, which significantly reduced the cost of space exploration. International cooperation in space projects set a precedent for future collaborations across various scientific fields. The Cold War is indeed a computer game developed by Mindware and published by Dreamcatcher Games, with Linux Game Publishing handling the Linux version. This digital representation of history allows players to engage in strategic decision-making, navigating through a complex web of political maneuvers and military tactics. The game's release brought new perspectives on the era, enabling users to experience history firsthand from their homes. Developers at Mindware meticulously recreated historical events and environments, ensuring authenticity in every detail. Users interact with virtual maps, decipher encoded messages, and witness pivotal moments unfold before their eyes. The game's interface, designed for ease of use, immerses players in the intricate dynamics of the Cold War. Reviews and player feedback have highlighted the educational value of this interactive experience, making history more accessible and engaging. Throughout gameplay, players learn about real-world strategies and consequences. The Cold War's political landscape is explored through virtual simulations. Historical documents and events are recreated for educational purposes. Insights into global relations are gained from participating in the game's scenarios. This digital environment offers a unique lens through which to view historical events. By simulating political and military scenarios, players gain a deeper understanding of strategic thinking. The game's design emphasizes the importance of historical accuracy in shaping player experience. Through interactive exploration, users develop a nuanced appreciation for the complexities of global relations during this period. Players navigate intricate menus to access detailed historical information. Each decision shapes a unique path through history, demonstrating cause and effect. The game's historical context is woven into every interaction, immersing players in the era. By engaging with various scenarios, users learn about the broader implications of political choices. The Truman Doctrine is indeed linked to the early stages of the Cold War. This policy, announced in 1947 by President Harry S.S. Truman, outlined America's support for free peoples resisting attempted subjugation. It aimed to contain communism, seen as a threat during that era. The doctrine was presented to Congress with a clear message: to provide political, military, and economic aid to countries in danger of falling under totalitarian influence. This speech marked the beginning of the Cold War's ideological divide, setting the tone for the years to follow. Historians often point to this moment as the formal start of the long struggle between East and West. The words echoed around the world, shaping international relations and alliances, as nations took sides in this new global dynamic. The Truman Doctrine's impact was felt immediately as nations began to align themselves along ideological lines. This containment policy aimed to prevent the spread of communism, viewed as a threat to democratic values. The speech underscored America's commitment to global stability and freedom. The doctrine shaped foreign policies worldwide, influencing international cooperation and tension. The policy signaled a shift in American foreign policy from isolationism to active global engagement. It reflected a growing concern about communist expansion following World War II. The speech was delivered as Greece and Turkey faced internal threats, prompting the need for this doctrine. The containment strategy became a cornerstone of US foreign policy, guiding decisions through decades. The Truman Doctrine also marked a shift in global power dynamics as the United States asserted its influence. This policy reflected a growing awareness of the interconnected nature of world affairs. The speech highlighted the importance of collective security measures to prevent further conflict. It demonstrated the West's commitment to maintaining political and economic stability worldwide. In 1999, Robert Gates published a book titled US Intelligence and the End of the Cold War. The title hints at its content, revealing secrets from the final years of the global conflict. Gates, having served in various intelligence roles, offers first-hand insights into the strategies and failures that shaped this era. His book is filled with detailed accounts of operations and their outcomes. These words are not mere speculation, they come from someone who was there, experiencing the tension and shifts. Each page holds historical weight, shedding light on moments previously shrouded in secrecy. The words echo through time, reaching readers decades later, providing a glimpse into a complex period of history. The words on each page are a window into the past, allowing readers to see beyond official histories. These revelations were made possible by Gates's unique position and access to classified information. They fill gaps in our understanding of that time, showing how actions behind the scenes influenced global events. Reading this book is like witnessing history from an insider's perspective. Gates's book paints a vivid picture of intelligence work, unveiling the methods and tactics employed during this critical period. The narrative is rich with specific examples, illustrating the intricate web of espionage and counter-espionage that defined the era. Through his stories, readers gain an appreciation for the subtle nuances and careful planning that characterized these covert operations. Gates's recollections also highlight the unpredictable nature of intelligence work, where plans could quickly unravel or lead to unexpected consequences. The Florida Keys, particularly Key West, was a strategic location during the Cold War due to its proximity to the conflict zone. Just 90 miles from Cuba, this island chain juts out into the Caribbean Sea, providing a watchful vantage point over the region's waters. The US military established bases here, with radar stations and communication centers dotting the landscape. Ships patrolling nearby waters could be seen from the shore, while planes taking off and landing at Naval Air Station Key West filled the sky. The sun-drenched streets of Key West became home to military personnel, their presence evident in the architecture and daily life. This small island, known for its laid-back atmosphere, played a crucial role in monitoring the Cold War's tense standoff. The proximity to potential conflict zones made it an ideal place for surveillance and strategic planning. This historical significance is etched into the landscape, with remnants of military infrastructure still visible today. The constant hum of activity served as a reminder of the island's dual role, both as a tourist destination and a military outpost. The very architecture of the city reflected this blend, with historical buildings housing both local businesses and government offices. Evidence of the Cold War era is still embedded in the environment, from the remnants of radar installations to the subtle echoes of military operations in the daily life of residents. This unique blend of past and present creates a living narrative that continues to shape the island's identity. Military infrastructure, once essential for monitoring activities across the region, now stands as a silent witness to history. The remnants of these structures serve as tangible reminders of the island's strategic importance during the Cold War era. Through careful preservation and study, the historical significance of these sites is being learned and appreciated by residents and visitors alike. The blending of military past with contemporary tourism creates a unique story that resonates throughout the community. The Cold War began in 1945 and ended in 1991, spanning a period of 46 years. In that time, the world was divided into two superpowers, each with its own political ideologies. The start of this era marked the end of World War II, when former allies became adversaries. Borders were drawn and a tense atmosphere settled over global relations. It was a period characterized by mutual suspicion and mistrust, with both sides continually watching each other. The end came gradually, as political landscapes shifted and tensions eased. This time frame is now well documented in historical records, providing insight into the complex dynamics of that era. The divide between these two superpowers influenced global politics, shaping alliances and driving technological advancements. The tension was palpable, affecting daily life in numerous ways, from military strategies to cultural exchanges. Through extensive research and analysis of historical documents, scholars have pieced together the intricate story of this period. This understanding helps us appreciate the nuances of modern geopolitical relations. This era was marked by a constant struggle for dominance, as each side sought to outmaneuver the other. The fear of nuclear annihilation loomed large, casting a long shadow over international affairs. The actions of both superpowers were closely scrutinized, with every move analyzed for potential implications. historical accounts, and declassified documents provide detailed insights into the strategies and motivations of both sides during this tense period. The Cold War's legacy is seen in contemporary global policies, as remnants of past alliances still guide international relations. This understanding was gained through meticulous examination of historical archives and declassified documents from both sides of the conflict. The prolonged tension shaped societal attitudes towards adversaries, often influencing cultural perspectives for decades after its conclusion. The constant surveillance and strategic analysis during this period have led to advancements in intelligence gathering methods still used today. The Berlin blockade lasted from June 1948 to May 1949. This period was a time of great tension when the Soviet Union cut off all land and water routes to West Berlin. The Western Allies had introduced a new currency in West Berlin, hoping to stabilize its economy after the war. In response, the Soviets initiated the blockade, aiming to pressure the Western powers into abandoning their plans for the city. The blockade affected millions of people living in West Berlin who depended on supplies brought in from outside. To combat this, the Western Allies organized a massive airlift operation known as the Berlin Airlift. Planes would fly in day and night, carrying essential goods to keep the city running. This airlift was a remarkable feat of logistics and determination, with pilots braving harsh conditions to deliver supplies. The airlift required meticulous planning and coordination, with each plane's route and cargo precisely scheduled. Supplies included food, coal for heating, and even building materials to maintain the city's infrastructure. Pilots flew along the same routes repeatedly, often under challenging weather conditions. Despite the Soviets' attempts to disrupt the airlift, it continued uninterrupted, demonstrating the resilience of the Western Allies. The airlift's success depended on precise calculations and real-time adjustments. Every flight had to be monitored for safety and efficiency. The operation required constant updates from meteorological stations. Pilots used their knowledge of wind patterns to optimize each trip. Each plane was loaded with carefully weighed and balanced cargo to ensure safe and efficient flight. The airlift's control center tracked each aircraft in real time, coordinating arrivals and departures to prevent collisions. Pilots relied on detailed maps and regular briefings to navigate the complex airspace. Despite the constant threat of disruption, the airlift maintained a steady rhythm, with planes landing and taking off at consistent intervals. German and Berlin-based spies played a significant role in international espionage during the Cold War. Espionage activities in Berlin were complex, involving both German and international operatives who were essential to Cold War intelligence operations. The city's divided status created unique opportunities for gathering information. International spies often worked alongside their German counterparts, exchanging insights and coordinating efforts. The intricate web of espionage in Berlin was crucial to the strategic maneuvers of both East and West during this period. Over time, declassified documents and historical research have revealed the extent of these clandestine operations, offering a glimpse into the Cold War's hidden landscape. The divided city provided safe houses and secret meeting points for spies to share intelligence discreetly. The complex nature of Berlin's geopolitical landscape enabled deep cover operations, allowing agents to blend into the cityscape undetected. Through meticulous archival work and interviews with former operatives, historians have pieced together the intricate network of espionage that once thrived in Berlin. These clandestine meetings facilitated information flow that could alter global dynamics. Berlin's urban fabric, with its layers of history and culture, provided natural camouflage for covert activities. The city's division fostered an environment where secrets could thrive and be exchanged with minimal risk of detection. This subtle interplay of surveillance and deception was unveiled through painstaking analysis of historical records and personal accounts. Invisible lines of communication crisscrossed the city, carrying whispers of state secrets. Shadows cast by towering buildings and sprawling parks concealed clandestine rendezvous. Meticulous observation of mundane activities revealed hidden patterns, hinting at deeper undercurrents. Historical accounts, painstakingly reconstructed, filled in the blanks left by covert operations. The Himalayas are losing ice at a measurable rate, as revealed by Cold War spy satellite data. This vast mountain range has been steadily shedding its frozen peaks, the once pristine surfaces now marred by retreating glaciers. The satellites, orbiting thousands of miles above, capture this slow transformation over decades, their cameras recording the changing landscape in silent observation. The Cold War may have ended, but its technological legacy continues to monitor the world's climate from space. These machines, originally designed for espionage, now serve a new purpose, witnessing the Earth's changing face under the watchful gaze of sensors and lenses. The ice, once so prominent, now recedes inch by inch, year by year, under the relentless pressure of time and climate. These images, when analysed by modern climate scientists, provide invaluable data on the pace and extent of ice loss. The declassified photographs show glaciers thinning and breaking apart, revealing bare rock and soil beneath. This ongoing disappearance is a tangible sign of rising temperatures and shifting weather patterns. The once permanent frozen landscapes are now transient, their future uncertain as the world warms. The melting ice exposes dormant seeds and microbes which were frozen for centuries. The darker surfaces absorb more sunlight, accelerating the warming trend. Satellite imagery shows the ice retreating in a gradual but unyielding manner, a subtle yet steady progression over time. This ongoing transformation highlights the complex interplay between Earth's climate and its landscapes. The satellite's unblinking eyes reveal that the ice loss is not uniform, with some glaciers retreating faster than others. The melting ice alters waterways and ecosystems below, as once sequestered water flows freely into rivers and lakes. These changes affect communities dependent on the predictable flow of meltwater for their livelihoods. The historical satellite data offers a unique perspective, allowing scientists to track these transformations over an extended period, providing insights unattainable from ground observations alone. The Cold War computer arms race saw the Soviets buying and stealing technology rather than creating their own. They scoured the globe for advanced systems, seeking an edge without investing in domestic development. This approach was driven by a desire to quickly catch up to Western innovations. Espionage was employed, with spies targeting research labs and tech companies. Secrets were traded, sometimes unwittingly, as knowledge was transferred across borders. Over time, this strategy became evident through the lack of original Soviet designs in the marketplace. The consequences of their choices echoed through the technology landscape, shaping the industry's dynamics. The Soviet Union's strategy relied heavily on reverse engineering and cloning existing technologies. This approach allowed them to rapidly adapt and integrate advanced systems into their own infrastructure without investing in long-term research and development. As a result, they often lagged behind in innovative breakthroughs, relying instead on imitating established designs. The discovery of this reliance was gradual, as inconsistencies and similarities between Soviet and Western technology became apparent over time. Soviet advances often mirrored Western innovations, with their own creations appearing only as rebranded copies. The lack of originality was a telltale sign of their strategy. Observing the technological landscape over decades revealed these patterns, confirming that Soviet designs were merely adaptations of existing systems. The Soviet Union's technological progress was largely a shadow play, reflecting advancements from elsewhere. This method ensured quick implementation but hampered innovation at home. Gradually, the similarities between their technology and that of other nations became undeniable. As more time passed, it became clear that many Soviet innovations were mere echoes of existing ideas. The KH-9 Hexagon satellite, a spy tool of the Cold War era, circled Earth to capture details about geographical changes, such as ice loss in the distant Himalayas. The satellite's name, Hexagon, reflected its unique design: 6 cameras aligned in parallel, their lenses peering down at the planet below. These cameras, capable of capturing images across a wide swath of terrain, offered a sweeping view of landscapes and ice formations. The photos were then delivered to analysts back on Earth, providing critical intelligence that helped track shifts over time. Each photo held clues about the planet's changing face, the slow retreat of ice revealing new surfaces underneath. The Hexagon satellite flew high above the atmosphere, its path illuminated by sunlight and guided by careful calculations. Over years of operation, it sent down countless images, chronicling the subtle transformations in our world's features. As each camera exposed film, it captured a thin slice of Earth's surface. Developed and scanned in the darkened labs of intelligence agencies, these slices were pieced together to form panoramic views. The process was meticulous, ensuring every detail from mountains to rivers remained clear. Analysts pored over these images, comparing them with previous ones, identifying shifts that signaled change. These images, stitched together like a quilt, told stories that words could not. The slow march of time was evident in the gradual shifts captured over multiple passes. Each frame held a piece of the puzzle, revealing the planet's evolution in silent testimony. This method allowed for an unprecedented view of Earth's transformation, unveiling changes that might otherwise go unnoticed. The Cold War espionage styles of the US and Soviet spy agencies were compared in an article for the History of Science journal ISIS. This comparison highlights the strategic differences between the two superpowers. The US focused on technological advancements, while the Soviets relied heavily on human intelligence. These methods reflect the broader goals of each nation during the Cold War era. The primary aim was to contain and counter the expansion of the opposing bloc. Over time, the strategies employed by these agencies became more sophisticated, adapting to the ever-evolving landscape of global politics. The US invested heavily in surveillance satellites and advanced communication systems, while the Soviets trained spies to blend into local populations. These contrasting approaches were shaped by each country's resources and ideologies. The differences became apparent through declassified documents and spy memoirs. Each agency adapted its methods based on successes and failures in various operations. The US's emphasis on technology aimed to maintain a global presence without significant troop deployment. This contrasted with the Soviet focus on human connections, which sought to exploit local knowledge and trust. The disparity in methods was driven by their distinct political systems. Insights into these differences came from analyses of captured documents and interviews with former operatives. The US prioritized technological innovation to surveil vast areas efficiently. The Soviet Union's emphasis on human networks aimed to infiltrate and manipulate from within. These tactics emerged from each nation's unique historical experiences and cultural narratives. They were further refined through ongoing espionage activities and intelligence sharing. At the end of the Cold War, all of the CIA's East German and Cuban agents were discovered to be double agents. This meant that every agent who was supposedly working for the United States was secretly also working for the opposing side. The discovery came as a shock, revealing a deep level of infiltration and deceit. Over time, it became clear that the methods used by these double agents were sophisticated and hard to detect. The CIA's operations had been compromised, leading to a reassessment of their security measures. The revelation shed light on the complexities of espionage during this tense period in history. This discovery revealed a network of spies who had been deceiving their handlers for years, hiding their true allegiances. It was learned through painstaking analysis of encrypted messages and discrepancies in agent reports. The revelation highlighted the difficulty of identifying moles within an organization, even with advanced technologies in place. This realization underscored the subtle art of deception, where appearances can mask true intentions. The intricate web of deceit was unraveled through meticulous scrutiny of every detail, no matter how small. Agents' actions were often just enough to maintain the facade, avoiding detection by their handlers. Every interaction and communication became a potential clue in this labyrinth of secrets. The unmasking of these double agents required extensive training in detecting anomalies, a skill honed over years of experience. The deception was so thorough that even the most subtle signs were often overlooked until careful review. Uncovering this web of deceit necessitated a detailed reconstruction of each agent's activities, meticulously cross-referencing every reported interaction. The Marshall Plan, initiated in June 1947, provided economic assistance to rebuild war-torn European countries. This plan, named after the US Secretary of State George C. Marshall, aimed to stabilize economies and prevent the spread of communism. It covered a variety of projects, from repairing infrastructure to supporting local industries. The idea for such aid came from the realization that economic stability was crucial for peace in Europe. This realization was shared by many influential figures who saw firsthand the devastation caused by World War II. The plan's name and details were widely publicized through news reports and speeches, making it a well-known initiative during its time. The Marshall Plan's primary goal was to restore economic balance, enabling nations to function independently without the threat of external influences. By addressing immediate needs like infrastructure and industry support, it laid a foundation for long-term growth. The lessons from past conflicts underscored the importance of economic stability in maintaining peaceful relations. Over time, these efforts demonstrated that collaboration and support can foster resilience in recovering societies. The Marshall Plan's focus on economic recovery aimed to address the root causes of instability, recognizing that poverty and unemployment can breed unrest. The experience of previous post-war periods had shown that immediate financial support could prevent societal breakdown and political turmoil. This comprehensive approach sought to rebuild not just physical structures, but also the social fabric, understanding that economic health is intertwined with community well-being. By providing a solid base for growth, the plan aimed to ensure that future generations would inherit a stable Europe. Radio Free Europe began broadcasting in July 1950, its waves travelling through the air to reach those behind the Iron Curtain. The first transmissions were a response to the spread of communism, a counterpoint echoing across borders. Static crackled from old radios as listeners tuned in, searching for an alternative narrative. Broadcasts were carried on shortwave radio signals, bouncing off the ionosphere to carry their message. The programming was carefully crafted, meant to undermine communist ideals and promote democratic values. News reports and music filled the airwaves, a subtle influence infiltrating daily life. Over time, these broadcasts would become a lifeline for many, offering a different perspective on world events. The impact of Radio Free Europe's transmissions was felt far and wide, resonating with those seeking information beyond their controlled environments. Listeners would often gather in small groups, huddled around radios to share the news. The clandestine nature of tuning in created a sense of community among those seeking truth. Whispers of hope spread from person to person, carried by the humble radio waves. The very act of listening became an act of defiance, a quiet rebellion against oppression. The mere presence of a radio in a home became a symbol of resistance, hidden from view yet ever present. Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, so did the volume knob, allowing voices from distant lands to seep into living rooms undetected. Letters and whispered conversations served as confirmation that messages were being received, spreading seeds of change beneath the surface. The Cuban Missile Crisis occurred from October 16 to 28, 1962, and was a pivotal moment in the Cold War. This event brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, with leaders on both sides considering the unthinkable. In October 1962, the threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large over every action and decision made. The standoff between superpowers was so intense that it could have ended in catastrophe at any moment. The world watched as days passed in tense negotiations, each hour feeling like an eternity. This crisis is remembered not just for its potential consequences, but also for the way it was resolved peacefully, averting a global disaster. Diplomatic efforts, coupled with mutual understanding, were vital in diffusing this crisis. The world had come perilously close to unimaginable destruction, yet through dialogue and restraint, peace was preserved. This event served as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between power and diplomacy. Lessons from this period have since shaped international relations, underscoring the importance of peaceful resolution over conflict. The crisis highlighted the need for open communication channels between adversaries. It demonstrated that even in moments of extreme tension, dialogue could prevent catastrophe. This understanding has been passed down through generations of leaders and diplomats. The world continues to value negotiation as a means of avoiding conflict, This event showed that diplomacy could avert disaster even when hostility was high. It illustrated how open lines of communication can prevent escalation. The crisis taught us that mutual respect and understanding are key to resolving conflicts peacefully. It demonstrated the power of dialogue in maintaining global stability. In 1945, the United Nations was founded in San Francisco, marking an early step in post-war geopolitics. This marked a significant moment where representatives from various countries gathered to establish a global organization aimed at maintaining international peace and security. The choice of San Francisco for this historic event was not arbitrary. It offered a neutral ground where delegates could engage in productive dialogue. The City Hall, with its grand dome reflecting the afternoon light, served as the backdrop for these initial discussions. Delegates walked the halls, their footsteps echoing through the marble corridors as they deliberated on the structure and purpose of this new entity. Outside, the city's famous cable cars rumbled along, a reminder of life continuing amidst these momentous talks. The agreement to establish the United Nations was not just a symbolic gesture, it laid the groundwork for a complex system of diplomacy and cooperation that would shape the future. The establishment of the United Nations set a precedent for international cooperation, creating a forum where nations could address global challenges collectively. This cooperative approach was crucial in shaping post-war policies and preventing future conflicts. Through extensive negotiations and mutual understanding, the delegates crafted a charter that prioritized peace and diplomacy over unilateral actions. Over time, the United Nations has evolved into an essential hub for addressing global issues, demonstrating the power of collaboration in maintaining world stability. The cooperative spirit fostered by the United Nations has facilitated the resolution of numerous international disputes through dialogue rather than force. This approach to global relations has shown that differences can be managed through discussion and mutual respect, fostering a more peaceful world. The lessons learned from these early meetings have been passed down, guiding subsequent generations in their pursuit of diplomatic solutions. Over time, the United Nations has demonstrated the practical benefits of collaboration, as seen in its successful mediation efforts and humanitarian initiatives. The Suez Crisis took place in 1956, involving 4 countries: Egypt, the United Kingdom, France, and Israel. This international conflict began when Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal, which had previously been controlled by British and French companies. The canal, located in Egypt, was a vital waterway connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, serving as a crucial passage for global trade. In response to Egypt's action, military forces from France and the United Kingdom joined with Israel to invade Egypt. This event marked a significant turning point in the Cold War era, highlighting the tensions between the superpowers and their allies. The seizure of the canal by Egypt was seen as a challenge to Western control over key resources. This action underscored Egypt's assertion of sovereignty over its territory and strategic assets. The international response revealed the complex alliances and power dynamics of the era. Understanding this conflict sheds light on the global struggle for influence and control during the mid-20th century. The canal's nationalization disrupted established trade routes, causing immediate economic repercussions. The invasion aimed to reassert control over the strategic waterway, demonstrating the significance of global resources. This incident heightened tensions within the international community as nations grappled with new geopolitical dynamics. The aftermath of the crisis reshaped understandings of sovereignty and resource management in the modern world. The Suez Crisis underscored the vital importance of strategic waterways in global trade and geopolitics. It illustrated how control over resources can spark international conflicts. The crisis also highlighted the complex interplay between sovereignty and economic interests. Its impact was deeply felt, with long-lasting implications for maritime law and international relations. The Berlin Crisis of 1961 culminated in the construction of the Berlin Wall, a physical divide that stood for nearly 3 decades. This concrete barrier was erected to separate East and West Berlin, isolating those within the Soviet sector from the rest of the city. The wall's presence served as a stark reminder of the political tensions and ideological differences between the superpowers during the Cold War era. It was not until November 9, 1989, that the wall began to crumble, marking the end of this prolonged period of division. This historic event took place under the cover of night, as East Germans, emboldened by new travel policies, swarmed the border crossings. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized a shift in global politics and was a significant milestone toward the reunification of Germany. The wall's dismantling initiated a wave of political changes across Europe as other Soviet-controlled nations began to assert their independence. This historic moment was quietly captured by media outlets worldwide, broadcasting images of people chipping away at the once impenetrable barrier. The sight of East and West Berliners reuniting after years of separation underscored the deep human desire for freedom and unity. As the wall crumbled, it became clear that the rigid structures of the Cold War were giving way to a new era of openness and cooperation. The dismantling of the wall signified the dissolution of a long-standing division. The physical barrier had served as a visual manifestation of political and ideological schisms. Its gradual demolition revealed a collective yearning for unity and liberation from rigid constraints. The world watched as these symbols of separation were methodically dismantled piece by piece. In the early 1960s, a significant division occurred within the communist world known as the Sino-Soviet split. This event marked a weakening of the Eastern Bloc, a collective of Soviet-aligned states during the Cold War. The split began with ideological differences between China and the Soviet Union, growing into political tensions that strained their once close alliance. Over time, these divisions became evident through public statements and policy disagreements, highlighting the fractures within the bloc's unity. The geopolitical landscape shifted as the two powerful nations moved away from each other, altering alliances and redefining the Cold War dynamics. The breach exposed vulnerabilities within the Eastern Bloc, challenging the notion of a unified communist front. These divisions echoed in regional conflicts and international diplomacy, where former allies often found themselves on opposing sides. The breakdown was gradual yet noticeable, as each nation realigned its foreign policy to reflect new priorities. This shift was observable through changes in military cooperation, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges between the once allied nations. The rift between China and the Soviet Union revealed cracks in the communist bloc's facade, as ideological clashes translated into practical differences. These changes were noticed through shifts in public discourse and diplomatic behavior. The once shared goals began to diverge, leading each nation to assert its own agenda. Over time, this process of separation became more pronounced, with both sides reevaluating their alliances and global strategies. These changes were noticed in the altered tone of diplomatic correspondences and the shifting allegiances of other communist nations. The once harmonious voice of the Eastern Bloc now echoed with discord. The split was a stark reminder that ideologies, even shared ones, could have varied interpretations. As both nations sought to define their own paths, the unity of the past seemed ever more distant. In 1970, the US adopted the Nixon Doctrine, which aimed to reduce direct American involvement overseas. This doctrine, named after President Richard Nixon, sought to lessen the burden on the United States by encouraging regional allies to handle their own defense. The idea was that these nations would be better equipped to manage local conflicts, thereby reducing the need for US intervention. Over time, this strategy led to the strengthening of military alliances in various regions around the globe. The impact of this shift could be seen in the increased cooperation and coordination among countries that were once more dependent on American support. This change allowed local leaders to address issues more tailored to their region's needs. It fostered a sense of self-reliance among these nations. Gradually, they developed their own strategies for peace and security. Observing this evolution offered insights into the effectiveness of regional defense initiatives. The shift in defense strategy also meant that the US could focus more resources on domestic issues. This approach showed that nations, when given the tools and support, can manage their own security effectively. It highlighted the importance of regional cooperation for sustained peace. Through these initiatives, local expertise and understanding of regional dynamics were better utilized. This change allowed local leaders to gain more experience in conflict resolution. It meant that regional knowledge was being used more effectively. Over time, this approach showed how different nations could learn from each other's strategies. Observing these shifts offered clear evidence of the value of such collaborations. In December of 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, marking the beginning of a long and complex conflict known as the Soviet-Afghan War. This event placed significant strain on relations between the United States and the USSR. The invasion took place during the height of the Cold War, a period characterized by tension and mistrust between these two superpowers. As Soviet troops entered Afghanistan, they were met with resistance from various Afghan factions, leading to a protracted and violent conflict. The international community closely monitored the situation, with many countries expressing concern over the potential escalation of tensions in the region. Over time, the war became increasingly costly for both the Soviet Union and Afghanistan, resulting in substantial loss of life and widespread destruction. The conflict ultimately lasted nearly a decade, leaving lasting effects on the political landscape of the world. The conflict highlighted the deep ideological divisions between East and West. It also revealed the limitations of Soviet military power as they faced persistent Afghan resistance. The world watched with growing unease as the war's implications spread beyond Afghanistan. Over time, the lessons learned from this conflict would influence future geopolitical strategies. The invasion illustrated the USSR's desire to expand its influence and contain Western powers. It underscored the importance of regional alliances in global conflicts. Observations from this war shaped future military strategies, emphasizing the need for flexible tactics in diverse terrains. The prolonged engagement demonstrated the resilience of local populations against foreign occupation. This conflict highlighted the enduring power of local resistance, showcasing how deep-rooted cultural and historical factors can shape a nation's resolve. It also emphasized the importance of understanding and adapting to diverse landscapes in military operations, as terrain greatly influenced the outcome of battles. The prolonged struggle served as a reminder that foreign occupations often face sustained opposition from local populations. Additionally, the Soviet-Afghan War underscored the need for comprehensive political and social strategies alongside military efforts to achieve long-term stability. On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl disaster unfolded, leaving a profound mark on both the environment and global politics. The nuclear power plant in Pripyat, Ukraine, suffered an uncontrolled reaction that released radioactive material into the air. A plume of contaminated particles drifted over large parts of Europe, affecting agricultural lands and human health. The Soviet government initially attempted to conceal the incident, but radiation sensors across Europe picked up abnormal levels, prompting an investigation. It took several days before the Soviets acknowledged the disaster, revealing the extent of damage and the potential long-term impacts on surrounding regions. The event led to widespread concerns about nuclear safety and triggered global efforts to improve reactor designs and emergency response protocols. The radioactive fallout from Chernobyl persisted in the environment for decades, contaminating soil and water supplies. This event emphasized the significance of transparency in nuclear incidents to mitigate further harm. The accident was a catalyst for international cooperation in monitoring radiation levels globally. As time passed, the long-term health effects became evident, underscoring the critical need for enhanced safety measures in nuclear operations. The impact on human health was vast, with increased incidences of cancer and thyroid issues in exposed populations. The disaster highlighted weaknesses in Soviet reactor design, particularly the lack of a containment structure. Radiation levels were first detected by Swedish monitoring stations, leading to the Soviets' eventual disclosure. Ongoing research has provided insights into the delayed effects of radiation exposure on future generations. The radioactive contamination has lingered, affecting wildlife and vegetation in addition to humans. Radiation exposure was initially difficult to detect due to its invisible nature, but advancements in monitoring technology have since improved early warning systems. The lack of a robust safety system at the plant is seen as a key factor contributing to the disaster's severity. the long-term impacts continue to be studied, with ongoing research focusing on the delayed effects of radiation on health. NATO's headquarters moved to Brussels in 1967. This significant shift signified a change in the alliance's operations and strategy, bringing decision-makers closer to key members. The move was a physical journey, with furniture and documents carefully packed and transported. Brussels offered strategic advantages, being centrally located among member states. The new headquarters building stood as a symbol of unity, its architecture reflecting the alliance's purpose. Light filtered through tall windows, illuminating meetings where crucial decisions were made. Diplomats and staff navigated corridors, their steps echoing in the spacious halls. Time passed, and the move became an established part of NATO's history, shaping its future operations. The headquarters relocation was a logistical challenge, with meticulous planning ensuring no disruption in operations. Each piece of furniture and document carried the weight of history, symbolizing the alliance's continuity. The move was observed by both allies and observers, providing insights into NATO's evolving structure. As time progressed, the new headquarters became a focal point for diplomatic efforts, shaping the alliance's future decisions. The headquarters relocation allowed for more efficient communication and collaboration among member states. This proximity facilitated quicker decision-making processes during critical situations. The move was documented through photographs and videos, preserving the historical moment. Over time, this new location became a hub where international agreements were forged. The shift brought decision-makers into closer contact with one another, enhancing their ability to discuss and decide on matters swiftly. The central location of Brussels allowed for easier access for diplomats from various member states. This proximity fostered a sense of unity among the alliance members, who could now collaborate more effectively. Over time, the new headquarters became a familiar setting, where allies felt comfortable and confident in their collective efforts. On April 4, 1949, NATO was founded. This alliance of nations was established in Washington, D.C., where representatives from 12 countries signed the North Atlantic Treaty. The treaty's creation was a response to growing tensions during the Cold War era, aiming to protect its members through collective defense. The signing took place in a quiet, wood-paneled room, with the morning light casting long shadows across the table as pens moved over paper. News of this agreement traveled slowly at first, spreading from typewriter to telegraph before reaching newspaper headlines. People learned about NATO's founding through carefully printed words on aged newsprint, a tangible reminder of the world's shifting political landscape. The treaty's text bound its signatories to a mutual defense pact, promising aid should any member face aggression. The agreement's clauses emphasized diplomacy before force, striving for peace through unity. News of NATO reached homes via radio broadcasts and newspapers, filling minds with thoughts of shared security. The treaty's presence brought a sense of calm to many, knowing that nations stood together. The signing represented a turning point in global affairs, marking a shift towards alliance and away from isolationism. People discussed the treaty over dinner tables, interpreting its implications with family and friends. As days passed, maps were redrawn, borders adjusted, reflecting new commitments and changing loyalties. The treaty's ink dried as diplomats exchanged handshakes, their eyes reflecting hope for a united future. Newsreels in local cinemas captured the moment, projecting images of unity onto silent crowds. The sound of distant typewriters clicked steadily, churning out new dispatches to inform the world. Families gathered around radios at night, listening intently as broadcasters explained the significance of NATO's birth. The Helsinki Accords, also known as the Helsinki Final Act, were signed in 1975 to improve relations between East and West. This document was carefully crafted over several meetings, with representatives from many nations gathered around long tables in a grand hall. The aim was to reduce tensions by agreeing on principles such as respect for borders and non-intervention in internal affairs. Diplomats worked late into the nights, their words echoing through the hushed corridors of the conference centre. The accord bore witness to a time when leaders sought peace, despite ideological differences. It was a significant step towards détente, a term coined to describe the easing of Cold War tensions. The text, now housed in archives, serves as a reminder of attempts at diplomacy during a period of global uncertainty. The Accord, signed amidst a backdrop of ideological divides, highlighted the shared desire for stability. Its creation demonstrated diplomatic prowess and an understanding that peace required compromise. The document's existence underscored the importance of dialogue in navigating complex political landscapes. The Accords were studied by scholars to comprehend the strategies employed during this critical period in history. The Accords were a symbol of hope amidst geopolitical turmoil. They illustrated that dialogue could be a pathway to harmony. Their creation required meticulous negotiation and concessions from all parties involved. The agreement showcased the potential of diplomacy in bridging divides. The Accords provided a framework for discussion and understanding, promoting trust between nations. They demonstrated that cooperation could transcend ideological barriers. This historical process revealed the intricacies of international relations. The resulting document encapsulated the complexities of diplomatic endeavors. The Cold War encompassed many significant events, including those in South Vietnam and North Korea. This period of tension between superpowers led to numerous military engagements across different regions. These conflicts involved vast numbers of troops, often from distant countries, who were sent to maintain balance or impose ideologies. The landscape of these nations transformed with the construction of bases, barracks, and defensive structures. Soldiers and civilians alike felt the impact, as daily life was altered by the presence of military personnel and the echoes of battle. Over time, historians have pieced together this complex history through records, personal accounts, and the remnants of war left behind. In many cases, local populations became entangled in global conflicts, their homes and lives forever changed. The physical remains of these encounters, such as rusted equipment and ruined buildings, serve as silent reminders of the past. Historical research has uncovered layers of social and political upheaval that coincided with military action. The lingering effects of these events continue to shape the cultural landscape, evident in the stories and traditions passed down through generations. These relics of war are often found in unexpected places, hidden beneath overgrown vegetation or within crumbling walls. They provide tangible evidence of a time long past, a stark contrast to the peaceful landscapes that have since taken root. The process of uncovering these remnants is meticulous, requiring careful examination and preservation to ensure their historical integrity remains intact. This intricate work allows us to reconstruct the events that transpired, filling in the gaps left by time and memory. Medals from the Vietnam War and the Korean War are notable decorations of the Cold War era. They shine brightly, each a reflection of courage under fire, awarded to those who served in these distant conflicts. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, an unsettling date that marked the start of a significant chapter within the broader Cold War era. This war was fought across the Korean Peninsula, a land far from many homes, yet forever etched in history. The conflict persisted until July 27, 1953, 3 long years of struggle and determination. These medals, worn proudly, are tangible reminders of the service and sacrifice made during this era. These medals are symbols of valor and endurance, embodying the spirit of those who faced adversity. They are not mere objects, but representations of experiences that shaped lives forever altered by war. The stories behind these decorations echo through generations, a silent tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. Each medal bears witness to a story of survival and honor, serving as a constant reminder of what was sacrificed for peace. These medals are often passed down through families, their stories told and retold to keep memories alive. They bear marks of wear, evidence of their long journey from battlefield to home. Some may have been lost or damaged over time, but their significance endures. They represent a shared history, binding those who served together in an unseen bond. These medals sit quietly on dressers, each one a silent guardian of stories that can never be fully told. They rest under glass cases in homes, their surfaces smooth from countless touches over the years. The weight of these decorations has been felt by many hands, each touch echoing with memories of distant lands and difficult times. Through these objects, the past is held close, their presence a gentle reminder of what was and what it took to preserve peace. In 1953, Stalin died, and Nikita Khrushchev came to power, leading to de-Stalinization efforts. The death of Stalin marked the end of an era in Soviet history. This transition of power saw a new leader at the helm, eager to implement changes. Khrushchev's rise signified a shift away from the harsh policies that had defined Stalin's reign. Over time, these de-Stalinization efforts began to reshape the political landscape of the Soviet Union. The public learned about these changes through state-controlled media, which slowly started to reflect the new direction. This period was marked by a softening in rhetoric and policies, as Khrushchev sought to distance himself from his predecessor's legacy. Khrushchev's speeches at the 20th Party Congress revealed Stalin's abuses, gradually exposing the truth to a curious public. People began to share stories quietly among themselves, filling in the gaps left by official reports. Propaganda posters featuring Stalin started to disappear from public spaces, symbolizing a subtle shift in ideology. As the years passed, more secrets were uncovered, slowly chipping away at the once solid foundation of Stalin's myth. The change was subtle, with no sudden shifts, as Khrushchev sought to avoid instability. Citizens carefully observed each other, gauging reactions and sharing knowledge cautiously. Quiet whispers in kitchens and courtyards became a primary source of truth amidst the shifting sands of official narratives. The quiet whispers carried a weight, as each word was chosen carefully to avoid suspicion. People leaned in closer, ears straining to catch every nuance. Gradually, the lines between official truth and personal experience blurred. Each shared secret added another layer to the evolving narrative. And that is where we will leave Cold War for tonight. The facts will still be true tomorrow, and this video will still be here whenever you need it. Sleep well,